Welcome to Family Business World. I'm your host, Dr. Dale Caldwell. We have an incredibly talented young man that I've gotten to know, Joseph Giovannoli, the CEO and founder of 9Sale. Joe, how are you today?
Doing really well. Thanks for having me.
We've had you on our Family Business Friday show, and you just did a wonderful job with one of your clients, and who I hope to have on the show in the future. So I always like origin stories. So tell me a little about where did you grow up and how did you get into 9Sale?
Yeah, sure. So I was born and raised in Bergen County, New Jersey, Waldwick, little town of Waldwick. It's like a 2 mile by 2 mile square up in far up North Jersey. And I am a graduate of Fairleigh Dickinson University.
All right, good job.
And my story is a little interesting. I worked at a local hardware store in high school and early into college. And, sales was always something that was of interest to me. And, I love talking to people. I actually, frankly, just couldn't shut up. And that's why I was, put in the sales area of the hardware store I worked for. I went into college fortunate knowing that I wanted to go into marketing. So I graduated Fairleigh Dickinson with a degree in marketing with a minor in advertising. And I've always been a Jersey guy up until recently. I moved out to Long Island, New York.
Well, again, you have the entrepreneurial mindset. You are done a lot of work with family businesses. So 9Sale, where'd that name come from, and what do you do?
Yeah, so great question. So I get that question a lot. So 9Sale originally started out as a full service marketing firm. I had come out of a couple of different marketing agencies, and, I set out, just like every entrepreneur does, is to do things differently, to do things, their way. So I started this company and primarily as a website design and development company, right? So we did all sorts of marketing, but our sweet spot was design and development. And the 9 represented the steps in our process. I reference a book a lot called Built to Sell by John Warrillow. I just love the book. I read it. I was fortunate to read it in college, and in that book, they talk about having a repeatable process. And so our 9-step process was repeatable.
Right.
The challenge with that was that it wasn't what we loved doing. Website design and development turned out to be a little bit more of a burden than we wanted. It was a little bit more cumbersome. We had numerous employees that we needed to keep, on staff at all times, designer, developer. And what we found is that, over time, we were really great at search engine optimization and paid search, which was a service we were providing, but kind of an ancillary service. And that website design and development just wasn't for us. So we actually at one point ended up shifting, introducing our clients that were on the website design and development side to partners and to other agencies to help them get the support they needed. And we committed ourselves to go completely to SEO and PPC. That was about 4 years ago now. We saw an opportunity in the market that, wasn't really being tapped primarily in the legal and the construction space, which is the 2 areas that we work in. We've kind of grabbed onto our really drilled down niche and have thrived for the last several years.
So now SEO, as you said, search engine optimization. You said PPL. What's PPL?
PPC. So
yeah, PPC. I'm sorry, PPC.
So it's Google AdWords. So, Google used to be Google AdWords. Now it's Google Ads. So it's pay to play. So you put in a budget with Google, you bid on a bunch of keywords, you send them to landing pages, and essentially once you run out of budget, you stop showing up.
Right.
So it's a little bit, if you think about like a financial investing strategy of short-term and long-term strategies, PPC could be looked at as more of a short-term strategy because, you're putting money in, hoping to get money out. Whereas, your long-term strategy is more of the SEO side of things.
Right. So family businesses. So we have an audience of thousands of family businesses. Many of them, and I don't want to embarrass any of them out there, but many of them have no idea about how to do anything with their website, how to get people to search them, and what's the first thing, you know, that if someone says, well, I watched this show, this guy Joseph, see, it makes sense, you know, how do I start? What do I do?
Yeah, so a couple of things, and this is going to be a little bit counterintuitive to what I just said to you earlier about not loving website design and development. But first things first is make sure that your website is something that you can actually work with and is optimizable. You know, if your website's been, you know, developed in the last, you know, couple of years, you're probably in good shape. You know, I tell every small business the same thing. WordPress is the king of website platforms, right? It is the most optimizable, most customizable CMS. It's open source, so it's you know, you're not tied and married to one developer. You can work with anybody that knows how to code in HTML, which most developers do. But I always tell people that, you know, and we do work with some family businesses, and you know, I tell them get yourself a nice WordPress website. You know, have somebody develop you out something that matches your brand. You know, tells what you do. That is always my first step. We typically get involved with developers. We have plenty of development partners that we've worked with in the past, and we have a few that we recommend to our clients. You know, but we get involved to help them to do the actual SEO setup, which is more of like identifying keywords, writing out the sitemap, helping them to identify what content needs to be created. You know, but it all starts with the website. So first things first, if you know, you don't want to dive headfirst into digital marketing as a whole,
right,
at least make sure that your online presence is up to snuff. It matches your brand, and it shows that you're an authority, because the word authority is a key here.
So I'm as far away from a programmer, but I've actually developed some pretty good websites through GoDaddy, believe it or not.
Okay.
GoDaddy, again, GoDaddy isn't as flexible as WordPress, and it doesn't, and I'm doing it. I like it because it's prepackaged and it's able, but there are a number of platforms out there that, and people have liked what I've done. It's been kind of weird because they've made it so simple. But what is, and go ahead, what were you say?
It's called a WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. Right. So think about it this way: you have those Squarespace, Wix, and GoDaddy, for that matter, are WYSIWYGs.
Right.
And the thing with a WYSIWYG is that the easier it is for the average person to customize, the harder it is to optimize. Right.
Interesting.
Because it's a give and take. You know,
Right.
Squarespace has and Wix have some SEO elements to them, but you know, they don't hold a candle to WordPress.
Right. So now let's talk about that, because that's a real important point. And I love this doing the show, because I learn every guest. I'm learning something. So, all right. So what is to optimize? What are some of the elements that you need to have on your website? So if somebody's just looking at their own website, you know, what are some of the 3, 4, 5 elements they need on the website to say, well, I can optimize this? Yeah.
So the top 3 things are site speed, content, and backlinks.
Okay.
So, you know, if you have a strategy for all 3 of those, you're in good shape.
Okay.
So let's go from the basic, right? So site speed is something that everybody has the ability to check. Google Page Speed Insights is a website. Everybody can Google that. You know, you literally just go into Google and type in Page Speed Insights. You can drop any page URL into that site, and it will tell you what your page speed is. It'll tell you what's wrong with your site. It'll tell you what's loading slowly.
Really?
Page speed and load speed is so crucial, because you have seconds, if not, you know, less than seconds, to catch somebody's attention before they move on to the next site. So if your site loads slowly, you're immediately doing your business a disservice. So I always say that when Google creates a tool, they mean business, right? So if they have a tool to track your speed, your page speed, it obviously is important to them.
Right.
The next thing is content, right? So their whole algorithm is based on content that ranks, right? So somebody's looking, using a keyword to find a piece of information, and that piece of information, you know, it has to be living in somebody's content somewhere. So from a SEO standpoint, content is king. It is the most important part of what anybody is doing on site, right? There's on-site and off-site. offsite would be backlinks, right? So you're going out to your strategic partners, going out to directories that you're listed in, and getting them to actually put a link back to a page of your website when they reference you or they reference something that has to do with you. Backlinking is a complicated thing, but when you ask what's most important, those are the three most important things when it comes to SEO.
That is powerful. That's that's worth the price of admission for our audience to do that. I've done something that I rarely do in the 40 or so shows I've done. I actually took notes on that paid speed insight. So that is really, really valuable stuff. And again, it's been great getting to know you. As the audience knows, I'm the executive director of the Fairleigh Dickinson University Rothman Institute of Innovation and Entrepreneurship, and you are a generation of entrepreneurs graduating from FDU and other places that often aren't paid as much attention to as we should in society, because you have a multi-million-dollar business, you're doing well. Young people need to know they can do that. And I've often said that gone are the days of the 30-year jobs at General Motors where you get a nice pension and you can retire to Florida comfortably. Entrepreneurship is really the job driver, as we're learning during the pandemic, going forward. So how do you use SEO for your own business? How do you optimize your reach to customers?
Yeah, so over the years, I've learned a lot of lessons. I could probably at this point write a book on all of the mistakes I've made, all of the things I've done wrong, I would have done differently, but everything's a learning experience. And one of those learning experiences has been that, you hear the old tale of shoemaker's kids, right? The shoemaker makes great shoes, but doesn't make shoes for their kids. So we, for years, didn't pay any attention to our own marketing efforts, our own SEO. And I would say in the last 18 months, just out of the fact that we've grown, we have more employees, we have more digital strategists on staff that can put time into our own brand. We've made a pledge to treat our website as its own client, right? So I have a digital strategist on my team that actually treats me as the client, right? So I get monthly reports, I get strategies, I have to make decisions, I have to do tasks, I have to do things. These are all things that we do. So we treat ourselves as a client. So we practice what we preach now.
That's smart.
And one of the amazing things, and no surprise, right, to me, because I feel so confident in the process that we've built, is that we're getting a constant. I have a repeatable and constant lead flow that comes through my website. Some of it's people that have found us because they've heard our name. Some people, it's a referral, but nonetheless, we're very easy to find online. It could be because of our unique name. It could be because we have we publish some really great articles in legal journals and construction related websites, but we have a repeatable. I get several leads a week from our website, right? And it's again just paying attention to what needs to be paid attention to.
Wow. Well, so you're really proving that your approach really works. We're halfway through the show, so we're going to take a break for a commercial break. When we come back, I want to pick up that conversation about helping family businesses take advantage of SEO and marketing. So,
sounds great.
So we will see you right after the break, audience.
Boardwalks built for fun. Legendary rock and roll clubs.
This is how we do it.
Casinos by the ocean.
Hippity hop.
Now that's New Jersey. 130 miles of beautiful beaches, solid rock, and everything in between.
Look in the window.
Now that's New Jersey. Plan your New Jersey trip at visitnj.org. Waves of fun. Nights of excitement. And a trail of memories. Now that's New Jersey.
Welcome back to Family Business World. I'm your host, Dr. Dale Caldwell, with Joseph Giovannoli from 9 Sale. We were just talking about for family businesses and other businesses, websites and search engine optimization. And we were during the break, we were talking about SSL, and I understand that, and a lot of people don't know that that's a security feature that really every website should have. What is that, and how does somebody get that on the website if they don't have it?
Yeah, so from a really basic, high-level standpoint, if you go on any website and you look up where you typed in the URL, right, the www dot, or frankly, you don't need to use www dot anymore. Right. Most all websites are, you can type in 9sale.com without www and it still works. Right. But you'll notice up in that bar that there's a lock next. There should be a lock next to the logo, next to the domain. Right. That lock indicates that it is a secure SSL site, and an SSL is essentially like a token, right? So you can buy it through your hosting companies. Most domain registrars also sell them. But it's essentially like a checkbox, right? We talked about this earlier, right. And you're checking a box saying that this site is secure. We've paid the necessary fee to make that happen, and the site is considered secure. There's a lot more technical elements to that, frankly, it doesn't matter. Right. If you have a developer doing your website, building your website, doing your coding, make sure that they have an SSL on there. Mm-hmm. You can do more harm to yourself by not having it than by having it, right? And it's just basic common sense. But once you have it on there, it's not like you can optimize an SSL. So make sure your site has an SSL, make sure it's secure. And that's about the extent of what SSL is good for. Right.
So now you're focusing on the legal industry and the construction industry. Those are two really very different, but very interesting. Are you going to focus somewhere else in the near future, or are you keeping busy enough with those two industry focuses?
So that's a good question. We recently have been working with some surgeons, plastic surgeons. It's a good market, same concept as the legal space. It's a specific profession with specific type of degree, and bar versus board, right? But we've been looking at that. We're in no rush to expand our horizons, and the reason is that we are proud of our specialty, and we're proud of what we do, and we haven't succeeded until we have a household name in the industries that we're in. Legal was a conscious decision that we made to go into. We had a handful of clients in that space, but it was one that we saw a really big opportunity in the space to be the white glove service that they weren't getting. Whereas construction was one we fell into, and we love it. We absolutely love construction and home contracting businesses. But it was one that when I started the business, my first 5 clients were construction.
Interesting.
So, that right now we don't plan to really expand unless, an opportunity presents itself that's hard to pass up. But, we are really happy to scale our business in these two industries and to be a real value provider to them.
Interesting. I'm trying to see the logical connection. So somebody's working for construction, they fall and hurt themselves, get a lawyer to sue and to pay for plastic surgery. So that sounds like a.
So our biggest connection to them actually was thinking about how we show ROI, right? Return on investment. Right. And both of these industries, you hire a lawyer for just about anything. There's a price tag to it. There are hundreds of dollars, if not maybe even in the thousands of dollars an hour. It's not hard for them for us to show them ROI and for us to generate enough leads for it to not only make sense for them, but it to be an actual, money maker for them. Mm-hmm. And the same thing on the construction side. We spoke with John Hogan, right, at the last FDU, Zoom at noon, and a roofing job for them. If anybody's had their roof done, I'm not going to go into details about the cost, but you're in the tens of thousands of dollars, and then add siding to that and whatever. So, those are two industries that were just, they grabbed us and said, this is a great opportunity. And we haven't looked back.
Well, one of the things that I've found somewhat counterintuitive, because I'm somebody that likes to do a lot of different things. I get bored easily and so on. But focus is so important. You logically say, well, by having more customers in more industries, I'm going to make more money and do that, but it doesn't work that way. It really, by focusing, you really do better in just about every industry. So talk a little bit about that for our family business audience.
Yeah, so Jack of all trades, master of none is not a title that I love.
Yeah.
I want to be the guy that, and I want to have the company that people know to come to when they have a specific problem, right?
Right.
I have a specific set of skills, right? That's a line in a few different movies, right? But we really enjoy the space that we're in, and the saying is, and the cliche is, if you enjoy what you do, you never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
I don't believe that at all. Everything's hard work, and there's,
Right.
Nothing comes without, it's obstacles and roadblocks.
Right.
But we understand what we're doing, and I'm not changing everybody's day-to-day, all of my employees day-to-day, because today they're working on manufacturing, tomorrow they're working on legal, the next day they're working on a landscaping company down the street. They know that this is their set of clients. These are the industries they need to know, and the parts of the industry they need to know. I have one and a half employees essentially completely dedicated to just legal related stuff, on top of my director of operations, who is staying tied into the ethics of the states that we have clients in, and working on new strategies and doing research on things that are working in the space right now from an SEO perspective. So it's more about keeping my team educated and keeping them sharp in the spaces that they need to be in, because SEO is relatable across industry, but the backlink sources are going to be different, or the content subject matter is going to be very different. So I want to, again, have a repeatable and simple process that my team can follow consistently, and they don't need to strain themselves to keep learning new industries every time somebody says, oh, I want to do SEO, and they're not in our space.
So when it comes to content, how much do you do to help them revise their content so it meets specifications?
So on the construction side, we'll actually help them to do their content. We have a couple of really great writers that we bring in that depending on the need, we can get content done. Legal, we won't touch. We have a really amazing partner of ours, somebody that's become a good friend of mine over the years, that shares the exact same philosophy that I do in almost every way. Her business is great. Focus Works Marketing is the name of that company. But she does all of the legal writing, and any of the technical rights, her company handles that. So, but we, from an SEO perspective, we create content calendars. We'll actually do skeleton copy, which is, we actually created an outline, what would be the equivalent of like a thesis outline, right? But on a very bare bones level. We put all of the subheadings, we remind them of the keywords, we tell them under each subheading one or two things that they need to mention within the article or within the page. We do all of the heavy lifting and all of the homework for them. Wow. And the result of that is that if it's an attorney that's doing the writing or a writer that's doing the writing, it should save them about 50% of the time it would have taken them to write the article to begin with. Wow. Because we've already laid out the storyline. All they have to do is show that they're an expert or share the research that they've found on the topic.
Interesting. One of the things that I've seen that a number of my clients over the years, and really I do operational strategy, financial, those types of things, has been doing how-to videos, to become an expert in that space. And so do you help them do that? Do you recommend that? So if I'm a retail business, is that something that you work with companies on?
I'm so glad you brought that up, because it's one thing that we do recommend regularly, but I can tell you that it's less than 10% of the people we work with have actually executed on it. Oh, wow. And for a few reasons. There's this stigma that a few things. That video content is difficult, and it's hard to create, and to do it professionally. You're right. It's very difficult, but people like social media content that's not professionally shot. They like the quick videos. I find myself constantly watching the guy walking with his iPhone, talking to it while he's walking through a park, sharing an experience that he had or something like that. I watch that regularly. Yeah. So I always challenge my clients. I say, you know what? We can always replace the video later. Mm-hmm. Why don't you just start recording stuff and listen? If it's not great, the written content that supports it is awesome. We know that. Right. So if you have a visual learner versus somebody that would prefer to really read it and get into it, you can talk to both audiences. Plus, we can use that video content, not us, but they can use that video content to tease articles or pages on social media platforms. So I love video content. It's optimizable. Yeah. It's entirely optimizable. There's so much you can do with video content to optimize. But people just frankly won't do it. And, it's a head scratcher to me. And frankly, again, shoemakers kids, right? We haven't really done much of our own video content yet. Q3 and Q4 of this year is when we're really going to, cut our teeth in video and podcasting. Okay. But I don't understand why people are so afraid of getting on the camera, because at the end of the day, they are their brand, right? And, legal and construction specifically, the owners of the construction company or the project managers and the lawyers at the law firm, they're the brand.
They're the brand. Exactly. Well, yeah. Joseph, we're at the end of time. I think that's great advice. I think one of the challenges is, I know my generation grew up with visual content that has to be perfect. Everything has to be, and they don't realize. You start looking at these YouTube videos that are selling, that millions of people are watching that are so informal. So that's a mindset. So I'm hoping the family business audience out there will hear that and say, just do the video and don't worry about perfection. So Joseph, thank you very much. I want to thank the Family Business World audience for another very interesting show, and we will see you all next week.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.